The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan of themorganreport.com for the final podcast of 2022, going through the week of 30 December 2022. Well, it's going to be brief this week. There's probably not many people going to pay attention to anything other than the holidays. But first one up is MSM. Gold prices rise toward $1,900. Gold, which has been a hedge against rocky markets for decades, is in the midst of a surge. And other information that most of you are aware of is that the bank participation is at like a 55-year high. The central banks are definitely getting into gold. And then this month, December, there's always a window dressing that goes on, which means that a lot of your hedge funds that look massively horrible, worse they've looked in 14 years, believe me, they're buying gold and silver, at least the ETFs, to put it on their books so they look good to their clients. So that may have had something to do with some strength here of late. Talks about, what's going on, talks about tips for investing. It's not much of an article, but it's kind of the gist of what I wanted to say is you're starting to see more and more pro-gold articles. And the one and the only Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, says it's the last chance to buy gold and silver at these low prices. You can read the article. I've met Robert a few times and conferences, actually sat with him at one of the tables at the speaker dinner. Quite a interesting fellow he is, and pretty much a gold silver bug. And I will attribute that pretty much to my friend Mike Maloney. But regardless of how it all came about, he's very, very big. He's talking here on his Twitter feed, gold over 1,800, silver over 24, inflation moving up, interest rates moving up, stock market crash sending gold and silver higher. Maybe the last chance to buy gold and silver at these low prices. Take care. Pensions, next, global Lehman. What are you going to do? Will you get richer or poorer? People who own gold, silver, Bitcoin, and I'm not agreeing with the Bitcoin part, will get richer with the Fed, Treasury, Wall Street pivots and print trillions of fake dollars. Fake money savers will be the biggest losers. Don't be a loser. In fact, when we were lined up to do an interview at one of the conferences, he went right before me, and we were talking before he was called to do his interview about his book, Fake, and it's quite a read. And is here, called Jeremy Williams, my trusted gold and silver dealer. Well, I'm not going to go along with anyone that I don't know. But anyway, he makes a lot of good points. I like the way they kind of set up this article with his Twitter feeds. So there you have it. That was written yesterday. Another pretty bullish article from the FX Empire. Silver moves above 24 on China demand hopes. Well, I don't know if it's hopes or not. Certainly Chinese demand. China claims they're like the number 2 producer in the world. They've told me that several times, but that's not how they're rated by the Silver Institute. And I'm not arguing with the Silver Institute, but they do actually produce a lot of silver, but none of it leaves the country. In fact, they're net importers on silver. Interesting, another article on silver, which I'm focusing on here at the end of the year, investors.ideas.com. The role of silver in Chinese history might be worth a read. It's interesting, this picture here of a Wan Bao. I actually have a couple of these on my desk. They're hard to find. They're a boat. This part's a boat. That's obviously a coin. But they're kind of interesting history of silver. And China was the last to go off the silver standard. And also, most of the silver in the 1500s came from Potosi, I think it's pronounced. But there's a rich history with the Chinese. Now, I go through that in the book, The Silver Manifesto. We start off the whole book with history of silver. And in that, you will find a great deal written about the Chinese. Of course, it talks about the Opium War. Chinese were not exporting hardly anything. We're just not importing very much. They were exporting a lot. And so what they were getting in return was silver. And the Brits were not very happy about that. So they figured an export that would work. They started exporting and importing into China opium. And the government got involved, and you may know the story. It's pretty interesting. So I would suggest any silver buff actually take a look at this article. It's pretty succinct and fairly concise. It's not nearly as much as I wrote about in the Silver Manifesto, but it does give you a good overview of how important Chinese silver was at one time. And staying on the same thing about China and silver, this is a pretty good article here on LinkedIn. And it's a real eye-opener for those that don't know this. Who's basically the kingpin in the PV market, photovoltaic solar panels? And the answer is China! China, China, China! Every single piece of solar supply chain is largely dominated by the Asian country that manufactures at least the 3/4 of each component. And so the Chinese ever wanted to mess things up, let's say, they have several ways to do it. One, of course, is their U.S. Treasury position, the bond market. The other be something like, what they do with solar. It'd be a lot. I'm not saying I'm going to do any of that. I'm just pointing out that we, the West, not just the U.S., Europe, a lot depends on China. And that's something to keep in mind. And for anyone that wants to be objective and follow the truth, this is a little secret here on this article here. A clean energy's dirty little secret. Discarded solar panels are piling up all over the world, and they represent a major threat to the environment. It's fact. Everyone that thinks having solar and they're doing their part for the green movement, rethink it. Clean energy may not be so clean after all. A new study by the Environmental Progress, EP, warns that toxic waste from solar panel now poses a global environmental threat. The Berkeley-based group found that solar panels create 300 times more toxic waste per unit of energy than nuclear power plants. Discarded solar panels, which contain dangerous elements such as lead, chromium, cadmium, are piling up around the world, and there's little done to mitigate the potential danger to the environment. Not a happy note. I'll try to find something upbeat before we close out for this year, and I'll be back with you next week in a new year. I'll go ahead and finish off with platinum. It's kind of been my favorite metal this year, basically. I've been very vocal in this podcast that has 3,500 people that watch it almost every week. Well, it's been long platinum at 850. And the title of the article is Can Platinum Buck an Ugly Trend in 2023? Platinum is 50 times rarer than gold. Most of it comes from South Africa, not from Russia, but Russia is a pretty good producer of platinum. As we moved into 2023, platinum offers compelling value, but the price action has yet to respond. I disagree. I bought it at 850. It's at over 1,000 now. So the last few months it's moved up, but it's certainly pretty much had a ceiling around 1,000 for quite some time. They trade on the NYMEX and the COMEX, Platinum's industrial applications. That's about all it's used for. 2021, Russia produced about 19 tons. Russia accounted for 11% of world output, while South Africa produced 130 metric tons, or 80% of the global mine supply. And I just did an update for our premium service, our paid service, about South Africa and platinum, and it's bullish platinum. It's not bullish platinum mining. But facts are the facts. So there's more behind the scene than this Russian story. 80% of it's South Africa, and there are issues with South Africa mining in general, not just platinum mining. Something you rarely see in the mainstream. Platinum is a financial asset that offers value. Usually it's not ever talked about. After reaching 2,300 in March 2008, platinum futures fell 67% to 761 7 months later. In October 2008, we know about the financial crisis. The price collapse likely left a bad taste in investors' mouths, yada, 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 and on it goes. But all markets go up and down. PPLT is a platinum ETF. I'd stay away from that. I'd buy the physical or futures. Platinum trades at 50 ounces on the futures market. It's not 100 ounces like gold or palladium. Anyway, I'm still bullish. I think it's probably going to do, in my view, one, it will definitely outperform palladium. And two, I think it may be right in there with gold and silver as far as percentage gains during 2023. I'll leave it there. This is David Morgan of themorganreport.com. Today is the last day to get our huge discount on the Morgan Report premium service. We're knocking off $200. And you also get a 15-minute one-on-one consult with me so that you can line up your questions, make an outline, whatever you want to do, or just take it off the cuff and discuss whatever you want to regarding anything, but primarily, of course, it would be investments in precious metals, resource sector, mining stocks, lithium, cobalt, battery stocks, whatever. By the way, in the new report, which will be out this weekend, we are featuring another energy company. It's a royalty company that we really like. It helps to diversify the portfolio, and it looks like they've got a good track record. We're going to build on that. We also go through what to look for in the mining sector in 2023. Pretty in-depth stuff. You're probably not going to find anywhere else. We go through most of the major companies in the mining sector that actually produce metal and have a balance sheet. So keep that in mind if you're inclined. It's another day left to get in on the deal we started on Black Friday. So that's it. This is David Morgan signing out for 2022.